I think, excitement at the end, which probably we didn't need, but we had to go through. Saved the blushes out there. Great game from Gerard Martin, and I think there's a lot to talk about. Hector Fort, possibly. Not to talk about the misfortune that was Danny Rodriguez. That was just a
Yeah.
bit too cruel for the little kid on his first game, on his debut. That was just harsh. We can also talk a little bit about Ansu in the beginning.
Okay.
But overall, yeah, 3 points in the bag, 7 points in clear. And if Celta are never easy, so if Celta Real doesn't go the way planned, then yeah, this might be in the bag.
I wish, yeah, that would be great because then with a potential win in the Clasico, we could wrap things up and then we wouldn't have to sweat for the last two games because
Yeah,
the last two games are Athletic Club and Villarreal, two games that if we have to win those games to win the title, that would be
difficult.
some final run. It will be very difficult to say the
Yeah,
least. Yes, the
and I something tells me that Villarreal and Athletic Club are not going to make
oh,
it easy for
absolutely not.
us at all.
Absolutely not. Especially because Athletic Club are still fighting for Europe. They're fighting for that fourth place or is it third place? I'm not even sure. VRL are never easy yet. They can be very open. They can be very aggressive. Sometimes that plays to our hand, but sometimes it just it doesn't end so well. So I don't. I wouldn't want to go into those final two games with that stress on our shoulders, right? So if we can actually wrap it up before that final stretch, so maybe beat Real Madrid and then win the title right there, that would be that would be great. But then again, if Real Madrid lose to Celta, we'll be 7 points clear, right?
Yeah,
Which means we would still need what 1 point of Madrid? Yeah, we would need. Yeah, exactly. We would need a draw against Madrid, and that would, in theory, yeah, at least that. So a draw and a win would then put us. That would be it. That
yeah.
would win us the title. Now, of course, Celta will still have to beat Madrid, but then
I don't know whether we lost Dom. Can you guys hear me?
oh oh yeah yeah.
I think this time it was you. I think Dom's gone. The uh, the beauty of internet. He's backstage, so let me get him in. All right,
I
there
don't
you
know
go.
why. Yeah, it threw me backstage. I'm not sure why it threw me backstage. Okay.
Yeah, you're welcome back again, Dom. No
Thank you.
problems. So yeah, I mean, we need preferably a win or a draw, and then we're okay. But if Madrid win tomorrow, then obviously is going to get dragged into the last match days, and those won't be
Mhm.
easy. At least I don't see either Athletic Cup or Villarreal to be very easy plays. It'll be difficult. Plus, you have to consider there'll be two games. There'll be a game against Inter, so at least there are three difficult games staring at us. And as the season has progressed, we have seen how difficult it has been for Barca to score freely or win freely.
Mhm.
So it's going to be nail biting end to the end of the
Yeah,
season.
and I mean, you don't want this in this kind of a season. I just don't want to be stressing the whole time, especially in the last couple of games. I wish we had like a little period of just being at ease and yeah, peace, some
Please,
peace. Just give us some peace. But then again, there is not much of the season left anyway, and every game now takes us that bit closer to the end, and we still have like what 5 games we need to play. Yeah, so if we play Inter once, if we beat Inter, we have Champions League final, and we have 3 more La Liga games, so 5 games in total. If we beat Inter on Wednesday, if not, then we got 4 games to go, and we can still end the season. I think the season is now officially a success, Dev, because I mean, yeah, but then we do have that one title now as well, or two. We have the Super Copa and the Copa del Rey. Now, some people say it's not enough, and yes, of course we can. I
I
think
think
it's
it's
okay as well,
okay.
but then
When the season started, if somebody would have said, this is what you're getting this season, I would say,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
fine,
I mean,
let's go for it.
exactly. I mean, it is true. It should be something. Should be an achievement. But we're so close to getting all of it that I've been shifting back and forth. Right. I do agree with that point of view where okay, just building what we have, the foundation is enough, and then adding two titles on top of it, absolutely fantastic. But now that we're so close to the treble and all of that, I'm becoming more and more greedy. I just want it all because I know that okay,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, of course.
yeah,
Because it's hard to get into
mhm,
this position where you are in the hunt for a treble.
yeah,
It takes years for
absolutely,
this to happen. It doesn't happen all the time. So the fact that it has happened and you're so close to it, obviously, you want to win it all. Every fan wants to win it. The team wants to win it. There's
yeah,
not a single person who is associated Barca who will not want to win
mm,
that. So yeah, I mean, hopefully we get it done. Tomorrow's game with Celta will be interesting. So we'll watch out who wins and who loses. But we've got our own problems with
yeah.
Inter coming up. It will be a 0-0 away game. Not very. We have obviously talked about Inter, and we'll talk a little bit about more about them. But let's first talk
Yeah.
about today's game. Jar Martin was so good.
It was. I think there's some things about Gerard Martin that's just simply work out really well. I mean, those passes, so those cutbacks when he, I think there's a couple of keys there. So if you give him a clear position, a clear target to aim for, I think he has a very good pass in him. Now, when he has to twist and turn, when he has to kind of manipulate his body and turn and twist to create new angles out of nothing, then he struggles. And I think his height actually works against him in those situations. I feel like Gerard Martin is a player who could be even better than he is if he was a little bit shorter, even because the way he's built, he sometimes feels so clunky and gangly. Now, it does help him when he's tackling, when he's trying to intercept, when he's trying to wrap around rivals, when taking the ball away. That helps. The height helps. The long legs help. But in possession, I feel like he would be a better player if he was a bit shorter. Now, obviously, he does still have his uses, as we saw today. Those cutbacks, when he has the space and time to actually deploy them, are very good. And I think that those balls have become a trademark
The
of
weight of
his.
the pass,
Yeah, it's really good.
very good. His vision is also quite good to pick up those passes, to understand when
Hmm.
to deploy
Yeah.
them, and the way he does this is pretty good. And today we like the conventional wisdom would have always said that when we talked about you
Hmm.
know talent coming out of La Masia, it was always Hector Fort. Much more than Gerard Martin. Nobody
Hmm.
talked about Gerard Martin. Nobody knew Gerard Martin before Flick suddenly brought him out of nowhere. But today, I mean, Hector Fort was run ragged,
Hmm.
absolutely, on that flank, while Gerard Martin did far better in holding his own, so as to say. So, I mean, do you see a future for Hector Fort in the B team as well?
It's tough to go back to the B team now. I think if he is to develop, I think he needs to go on a loan. Maybe there is a player in there, Hector Ford. Obviously, we know that he does have certain qualities. I think he's not a useless player, especially his profile can be a bit different than
Well,
Koundé's and a bit different than what we have on the left side as well, if you want to do it that way. Now, there's no space for him just now here, and I think it's quite visible at this point. And I think Flick agrees. Flick plays him what every now and then when it's absolutely necessary, or when he wants heavy rotations. Right, that's what happens. Otherwise, Fort is not really close to that lineup, and to be fair, he's not really starting 11 material as of right now. So I
that's
think
the thing. It's like I just don't feel he's there.
no, he's not.
Um,
Yeah, he's not.
I ended today it was Valladolid, and he was run ragged. Absolutely. So yeah, I mean that was yeah, it was just yeah one of those
No,
things. You
yeah,
feel bad about it, but when the reality hits you, you understand. You see the game, and you understand that yeah, it is what it is. So you got to kind of accept that and move on. Just you know. Uh, like you feel bad about Fatih as well. I mean, he had the first half. It was set up like to
hmm,
really be the protagonist, and he
hmm,
probably had a couple of chances out there, but it's
yeah,
just not going to happen for him. I don't think, at least in Barca.
yeah.
Hopefully, in some other club.
Potential, yes. I don't think that Fati's a lost cause. The more I see him now, the more certain I am that that player is salvageable. Now, is he salvageable for the Barca level? Probably not. That would be a huge leap for him. However, whenever he plays, and he's played for the last couple of games, I don't feel like I'm seeing a player who's meant to be on the bench for the whole season. I don't see that discrepancy between his actual ability and his game time because um, judging by his game time, he should be much worse than he actually is, which tells me that there's more than just ability there. There's more than just quality there that influences Flick's decision making, because there has to be something else that we don't know. Whether that's financial, we can't tell, but it could be very well could be. Now, again, tonight, couple of good moments for Fati. Maybe should have had a goal. That shot was fantastic. I think he just lacks a bit of venom in his shots, a bit more intent. I think that shot was good.
It was a
He was
good
going.
shot.
Yeah, he was going for placement. He had a good first touch to create the separation from the market, create the space for him, and then he shot. Now the shot was really good, the placement was really good, and he did go for the curve to go around the keeper, but then obviously against Barca, even the worst of keepers, no disrespect to Valladolid, but even the worst of keepers will do those things quite often, which it's normal by now, but I think there's goals in Fati. Whenever I watch him now, I feel there's goals in him and there's value in him. Maybe not at Barca level, maybe not for the future in in a generational way or anything like that. But I feel like there's value in him, which just poses more questions than it gives answers. Because then why is he not playing? If he can be valuable, why is he not playing? But then again, at the same time, he was subbed off at the halftime, so maybe Flick was like, okay, yeah, you're decent, but you're just not going to change anything for
Yeah,
Barca.
because I mean, I don't see him staying this summer.
Hmm.
I just can't see it happening
Hmm.
with Flick staying, because like you're hooked off in a half time, because obviously
Hmm.
Flick can't trust you very badly. So obviously he put in everybody that he
Yeah,
could to salvage that, because think about him. He took the gamble. He made the
yeah.
rotations. Rotations were needed, and and within 5 minutes we are 1-0 down, and the first half was really bad, to be to be frank and honest. So obviously Flick has to get the artillery in, but that just shows you that how little trust he has in Fati to make that difference. And with that, I doubt. Yeah, he's staying. So yeah, let's take this point from Leon. Yes, his defensive liability is not a hard worker. Maybe all of those are true. Maybe. And Gerard Martin does work hard, though I wouldn't say that Gerard Martin is like an incredible player, or incredibly talented or gifted, but maybe disciplined. You're right. But I think overall, Fort this season, like the few chances that he's got, um, I mean, does he have the chance to be first team material? I doubt that. He probably can be rotation, maybe, but maybe not even that, because that position is so important for the way Barca plays. Yeah, I just think it's very hard. I can't see it, unless it's a situation where we don't have money, we don't have anything, like it has been for years, and so we are forced to use it. But apart from that, I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, at this point, I think it is difficult, because we have seen throughout the season the same thing with Fati, right? Um, Even if those players have some value, and they do have some value, even if you're just a rotational player in games like these, you can be of service, right? You can be someone who's just a body. I know it sounds very harsh for them, but they are sometimes just bodies to fill up those holes and give some rest to the starters. But he's not a player that Flick's going to rely on in any capacity. So that is the biggest deal. And for a young player to be on the bench and not playing and not progressing, not developing, that's the worst thing. So that's he has to think about that. If Barca sign another fullback or two full, I don't know. If maybe they sign no one, we don't know. But if they do sign a fullback, which the reports would suggest, where does that leave Hector Ford? It
Yep.
leaves him, nowhere in no man's land. So the best thing for him would be to just go on loan or even just go somewhere else. It depends on him and the club. But that would be for me. That's the likely
That's the
scenario.
solution. Yeah, I would agree with you. All right, who are you starting as right back against Inter? I think we talked about this, and hopefully we'll talk a little bit more about Inter. But at this moment, I think it'll be Ronald Araujo. I don't think anybody else is there. I don't know whether Eric Garcia can be deputed in that manner. I don't see Hector Ford getting the chance. I think it's going to be Ronald Araujo. Tom, what's your thought?
I mean, it could be. It could be Ronald Araujo. I think there is value in that. I think we'll see Araujo from the start, definitely. Now, if that's as a right back, that could be an option. If not, then I would say Indigo left back and then Kubarsi and Araujo as centre backs, and then Eric would be the right back. Those are the two choices. I think I would even now. It also depends on Balde. Is Balde coming back? Because if Balde is coming back and Flick wants to start him immediately, which is also a bit of a risk, but then again, maybe he goes for it. But let's say he doesn't. If he doesn't, then I would say that there is a chance that Indigo plays the left back from the start. And yeah,
Yeah, I think. Yeah. So then, and do you see a space for Christensen?
no, not from the start. I know there's value. Like you want some height, you want some robust physicality, you want some robust defending, but I don't think that he will start the game. Now, if he were to start a game, the only option would be to displace one of the center backs, unless you want to play him in midfield. But I don't think Christensen would start over any of the midfielders at the moment. Now, obviously, Gavi went out injured tonight, so he wouldn't. We don't know yet. I'm not sure if there's any reports just now. Maybe there are. I have to check Twitter. But if Gavi is not there, then potentially there's a slot in midfield. But I don't think that he will play there. So I wouldn't expect Christensen near the first 11. Maybe he throws him in if he needs to defend a bit more, but I don't
So you're
see him.
going with, proverbially, what you're going with is Inigo,
But
Kubarsi, Araujo, and Eric as the
yeah,
four-man back line.
yeah, I think
But
so.
with Eric and Kubarsi, I mean, they're probably a little bit on the shorter side. Wouldn't it be a kind of a liability against Inter 6 feet army?
I mean, unless you play Christensen, then there's no one else anyway. So Araujo's going to play, so he will be in the starting lineup, and that's our best physical chance that we have. And we'll have Frankie, and maybe Lewandowski could be someone if we play
If
Lewandowski from
he's
the
playing,
start.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think he can be a good defender in the
He
box,
is. He's
aerially.
our number
Yeah.
one corner clearer. So yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
so I think that's also something to consider. But I wouldn't add this as of right now. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but as of right now, I don't see Flick starting Christensen, even if it's Inter on the other side. I just don't see it.
Yeah. Well, Luis Diaz is extending. Do you guys prefer Lukman's ball striking, dribbling, or Nico's chemistry and pace? We prefer Nico, but I don't think Nico's coming. I just don't think
Yeah,
that's happening. There are many reasons. I think there's also institutional challenges. I like, and then nobody has. It's not that we know any inside story, but just reading between the lines, I think Athletic Club has been a little bit not so favorable of Barcelona lately. And I think that has come out in news in various ways. And Laporta being Laporta, I don't see that happening anymore like I used
yeah,
to
understood.
earlier for sure. I think I don't think we are going to see that happen from that perspective. Now, whether it's Lukman or somebody else is a totally different question. But do we prefer Lukman over Nico? No, I don't. I'll let Dom speak to for himself.
Yeah, same thing. I think Nico went from being slightly an overrated pick because at one point everyone wanted Nico and no one else. Then when he rejected Barcelona, everyone was like, "No, Nico was rubbish anyway." That's what we usually do as fans. That's normal. And now I think I don't know. It's kind of an in between of those two because some people really want him, and I still think he's a great option. Good to get an option. Considering everything. Some would say that his wage demands could be very high, but I don't know. I'm not 100% sure about that, so I'm not going to comment. But as a profile, as tactically, structurally, I think Nico he has what we need anyway, and I think he has his dribbling is there as well. So it's not just chemistry and pace. He has dribbling. He has ball striking as well. He can score goals. Just doesn't just yet. It's like Lamine, but not as good, obviously. But it has the same problems, I would say. Can score goals, but then he doesn't as often just yet.
Also, the other thing, like I mean, like athletics are so good, especially in La Liga, they're so good, and it's always difficult facing them. But look at Europe, and they haven't really done as good as they generally, you would expect them to do based on, if you watch them play week in week out. That 3-0 loss against Manchester United makes no sense whatsoever altogether. I don't even know what happened out there, but there are things like that which then make you feel that, okay, uh, when push comes to shove, are you going to depend, or are you going to break the bank for somebody else? That's just
Mhm.
one of my thoughts. Because it's on days like that you just start questioning, okay, like does this player really bring
Yeah.
in crunch situations and what have you. So Nico's an incredible player, and last year, if we, if he had a choice, I would have absolutely said that yes, let's go all in. But I don't think that's going to happen again. I just don't feel that for various
Mhm.
reasons that
Mhm.
it is going to happen.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I think it is also a very valid point of view because it just if Barca go for someone and they say no and all that stuff. I mean, sometimes it's just the train, as they say, has truly passed. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Could be financial. Could be ego, whatnot. It could be whatever. Okay, we'll see. Anyway,
And we win
okay,
the league if
next
we
one.
lose the Clasico because we tough games are coming up. Well, it's going to be hard if we lose the Clasico, but can
Hmm.
we win it? Yeah, we can win it 100%. It's completely in our hand still.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
but we'll have to win the games, so no
Yeah.
questions on that. We don't have to depend on somebody else to make us win yet. So yes, it's pretty much in our hand with a
Hmm.
healthy buffer of 7 points, which is huge at this point of the season.
Oh yeah.
Is incredible. So and it's highly possible that we lose the Clasico. Very very possible. Because I just, like how many times have we beaten them back to back? Three. I just don't
Yeah.
see another one. But I mean, you never know. But yeah, it's highly possible that we lose. But then we'll have to win the games against Villarreal and Athletic Club and all of that stuff, which is
Hmm.
not going to be easy. But it's still in our hands to win
Yeah.
this.
Well, and also one more thing is Madrid have Mallorca, Sevilla, and Sociedad, so they don't have an easy final three games either. So Sociedad as the last game for them, oof, I think that's kind of it's not easy for them either. So hopefully they drop some more points and that makes it easier for us. But I think the best case scenario is that, as we said, they drop points against Celta and then we finish them off in the Clasico because we do have the quality. We are at the moment we are the better team. Again, guys, does not guarantee wins, but we are the better team at this moment than Madrid.
Yep, I 100% agree with you. If you choose between League versus UCL, what would you now? 99% of the time, I would say League because I actually think League is more important than UCL.
Mhm,
But I think this time, because of other things like, uh, I actually would say UCL right now because, I mean, if we do win it, first of all, the PR, the media, and the money, we need
mhm,
all of that massively.
mhm,
The second, the kind of player that we can probably get, because we'll have to think about, Lewandowski and his past, like we have to think about, that movement of Lewandowski leaving and somebody coming in, but you need money for that. So winning that kind of a championship gives us the financial ability to pull off one signing at least like that. So that's number two. I think if you look at the number of Ballon d'Or now, the storyline of Ballon d'Or for Barca,
mhm.
uh, I mean, it's very highly possible for either Lamine or Pedri or whoever to get the
Yeah.
votes if we actually win the UCL.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's very, very possible for one of them to actually go all the way. And again, that means PR, media, all of that stuff. So just from that tactical perspective, if one had to choose, I personally would choose the UCL over league right now. Though 99% of the other times, if you ask me, I would say league over UCL. Don't.
Yeah, I think we keep saying that, guys, and I think it is true that Barca's domestic dominance is so important that the league will always be priority. But now, as Dev says, there's a lot of stake with the Champions League, and I think it's been far too long since we saw Barca at the top of
At the
Europe.
pinnacle.
Yeah,
At the
the pinnacle of
pinnacle.
Europe. And I think this to do it with this team, and yes, again to Dev's point, Champions League kind of doesn't guarantee you the Ballon d'Or, but if your player is in the running and then you win the Champions League, that's it, right? There's nothing else, right? You will win it. One of your players will win it, and I think Rafinha and Lamine they both have a chance. Obviously, more than just a chance. Apparently, Lamine is the front runner now, and the Champions League would guarantee his win. Now, imagine that story because it will be Barca winning the Copa del Rey and then the Champions League and then getting the Ballon d'Or for a 17-year-old kid. I think the story that would be in the world of
It's huge.
football that massive,
Huge.
absolutely massive.
Huge.
But even
I mean, you're almost writing off the last generation and starting a new story,
yeah,
which we thought would be very, very difficult from a PR side.
hmm
You can already see the PR cycle changing on Barcelona completely.
hmm
Like
hmm
there is a whole generation now who are talking about like this team,
Yep.
right? They're not
Yep.
even referencing the Messis and everybody, from the past. So
Yeah.
it's changing completely, and one UCL and Ballon d'Or will change this absolute, the
Everything. Yep.
way the messaging and the story around, and the money, of course, the money that you
Hmm.
get is going to be massively important for some of the things that we would like to,
Hmm.
like advertisement. Like, you win a UCL, you get more sponsors, and
Yep.
God knows Barca need money and what have you. So I think, yeah, at this moment I would choose a UCL
Hmm.
over a league, but 99% of time, if you ask me, I would
Yeah.
say league. Should Barca think focus on spending the limited money we have on building squad depth? Yes, I think for squad depth. I don't think we still have the money to get big marquee signings of 100 million plus. We just don't have it. And even if we did, who will you get? Like, which is the bid? Like Alexander Isak for 100 million?
No.
Probably no. And we have discussed that. Apart from that, is Erling
No.
Haaland coming? No, he's not. Is Kylian Mbappe coming? No, he's not. So which elite player are you going to go and spend that kind of money on, right? So yes, I would say squad depth, but very specific areas. I think left back is one thing that we have talked about. There's a left winger that we have been talking about for a while. So I think there are very specific areas where we need absolute coverage. I also think we need to spend on a goalkeeper. I really do think. I don't think either Ter Stegen or Tech is the answer for the long term. And so if you are making the changes that you have made in the team throughout, I think you should go for the goalkeeper and just finish it off and get somebody in. But yeah, that's where I would think. But Tom,
Yeah,
your thoughts?
it's very difficult to say. Okay, who's going to come in, and yes, financially we don't know. But yeah, it's difficult with squad depth players because then what level of quality are you aiming for with those players? Are you aiming for someone who's just going to be a rotational pick? Because it's very difficult to buy players who actually add value in that case. What clubs often do wrong is they exactly this. They go for players who neither improve them enough nor are they, so they're somewhere in between, and that makes the team stagnate. Right? They're between not good enough and not bad enough because they're somewhere in that sandwich of two extremes. And when you buy such players who don't have the quality to actually be in the starting lineup, but they're also not quite crap, so you can keep them around. They're still there somewhere along the way. It's very difficult to actually progress and improve as a team and actually take steps forward consistently. So Barca need to be very careful with how they plan for the future. But what we have from the and Daniel Rodriguez is actually a good example
Example.
because he's someone you can bring in from the academy who gives you that quality, probably more so than a player you would buy who's kind of in between that, not quite crap, not quite excellent, right? So it's better to have those young players then, or players, homegrown players who can actually step in and do the job instead of you just, I don't want to say wasting money, but sometimes it can be wasting money. Exactly.
All right, let's look into the next one. Between Olmo and Fermin, who do you prefer the number 10 role, or would make more sense San Siro? I would say at this
Hmm.
moment it would be Fermin, given on just current form. Olmo hasn't been at the top of his game for a while. Maybe it was injury or something else. Fermin has been consistently uh, doing well and also scoring important goals for us, which is
Yeah,
pretty critical for us. So I would possibly go with Fermin right now.
I actually agree. And on the last stream a couple days ago, I said the opposite. I said almost at the moment preferred, but he doesn't seem as sharp. I'm not sure if he's not fit, yeah, if he's just not in the rhythm as much, or is he carrying something, some sort of a, I don't know, aggravation or something. Maybe could be anything. But at this moment, even though he is that player who can create something out of nothing, I just don't see him as he's not having such an impact or as much of an impact I would love him to have. Now with Furman, there are some interesting dynamics you can do because what we saw against Inter in the first game is that Inter would put two or three players on Lamine, and now you have to look, okay, with that much gravity on Lamine's end, who can use that gravity the most in our from our players? It won't be Gavi because Gavi doesn't make those penetrations as much. It wouldn't be Omo because even if Omo was at his best, yeah, he can make those runs. He can be the player off the ball as well. But I think Furman, out of those three players, as the number 10, could make the most use out of Lamine pulling two, three players away, and then that creates space elsewhere. who's going to exploit that space, I would say that Fermin is a great pick, and I would say that okay, obviously Ferran can also be there, and Rafinha can be there. But if we're just looking at Olmo and Fermin, I would agree that yes, Fermin could be a good choice in that situation.
All right. If we sign a left back, what will happen to Rafinha? What role will he play? If Cam, then players like almost will buy them or want them. These are tough questions. But what will happen to Rafinha? I think Rafinha still isn't really playing the winger role, anyways, for Barca. So I think he can coexist. I don't think there'll be a problem in that. Um, just exactly playing the role that he does today. Now, what happens with Olmo, who's going to buy him and all of that? Those are tough questions because we spent a lot of money on Olmo at 60 mil. So and a lot of there's amortization, many things and so on. So let's keep all that aside. It's selling will always be hard. Selling will always be hard.
Yeah.
Uh, and I don't think we are thinking of selling him as of yet. I don't think there are offers as well. Also, his injury record speaks for himself, so it won't be easy to find buyers. There are many things like that. So we won't be able to conjecture on what will happen to those. But I think if we do get a winger, I think Rafinha can pretty much survive. I think that he's okay. He's got Flick's trust. I think yeah, he can survive because he's anyway not playing the winger role.
Yeah, he is not. And if we sign a left winger, it would be a different profile to Rafinha, and then you do have two different options, two different tools. Now, would that player then have to be a bench player? That depends. Depends who comes in. If you buy a Leo's not going to sit on the bench. If you buy a Nico, he might sit on the bench. If you buy a Lookman, then that player can be on the bench. So it depends on who you buy. So if Barca want a starter, then someone like Leo would theoretically push out Rafinha. But then if you do push out Rafinha onto the bench, do you want him as a bench player, as a rotation player? Do you want to sell him and maximize the profits? Because at that point, Rafinha's stocks would still be at their highest probably because despite his success this season, we are predicting a bit of a, a downward spiral from here because
Eh,
there's a little chance that he can be as maybe he can, who
effective.
knows, but being that productive next season again would be a major surprise, and I'm not trying to downplay his ability, but it's just difficult to replicate that again. So Barca could be tempted to sell despite Rafinha's importance, and Rafinha has been crucial. We know this, everyone knows this.
All right, this will be a short one, guys, because of
Yeah, we
a
have to
couple of
close.
things at
Yeah.
our end. But we'll take a couple of more before we wrap this up. Let's talk about Christensen. He's been so good in the last two games. Came out of nowhere, total wilderness, 1 year. We don't even know what he was doing. We don't even know what kind of illnesses that he had. But
Yeah.
something happened, and then suddenly he's back. He played these last two games. He has been quite good. True.
Mhm.
Are we going to see more of him throughout? I think yes, he would. But I don't think it would be as a substitute over Araujo. I think both of them will start. But Dom, your thoughts?
Again, I think Araujo will start. I just don't see Christensen starting. Maybe if he goes for it, and it would, I wouldn't be that surprised. I wouldn't be that shocked in terms of who actually fits because he would fit. But then I don't know who you bench because okay, you can bench Eric and then put Araujo as the right back. I just don't see those kind of changes. I don't see Christensen starting this game just now. Can he be useful in that game? Absolutely can, and he has been good. And tonight he was really good as well. Like he's not lost a beat. But then again, I don't see him starting. I see the same as I said. So it will be Indigo, Kubarsi, Araujo, and then Eric for me. If Balde doesn't play.
Rashford on loan. Yes, this can be a very good loan. And we talked about this, some time back when this was a hot topic and was being discussed during the winter transfer window. He can be very good for the system that Barca play in. But again, if we had like $5, are we going for that loan or some other loan? Is where I have questions. We end up happening. That said, I'll move on to the next one because we'll just take two more, honestly.
Yeah.
What's best for team morale? Good question, Vandy. Lamine Ballon d'Or or Rafinha Ballon d'Or with the fact that he's never going to be able to win again. This is a good one. I think
Mhm.
you're right. While we do not want to belittle the extreme, value that Rafinha has driven for the team this season, it seems hard that he can replicate this. So getting Like he has done more than Messi, like literally in the Champions League. So who would have thought about that? So yeah, I mean, this might be one of his rare chances to win it. So from that perspective, probably Rafinha. But if you ask about who is really creating that impact, I think it's Lamine.
Yeah. Lamine generates so much football. I mean, Lamine is consistently there. Rafinha can be a clutch player. He can be a game decider. He can be a player who you can rely on in the big moments. But he either runs really, really hot and then scores every game, or he just has these. I don't know. For the last couple of weeks, even or months, I would say that Rafinha has been a bit hot and cold. Maybe should be doing a bit more in certain situations, but then again, like tonight, scoring goals that are important, obviously. And imagine, just Lamine doing this at 17 and winning the Ballon d'Or, and Barca potentially winning the treble alongside it in a season that, w- yeah,
Story.
in a season where Madrid have brought in Mbappe and have all the stars. Now all of a sudden, Barca win everything with a 17-year-old kid who wins the Ballon d'Or as well. Can you imagine that? What a blow!
10 years
Yeah,
of PR done.
exactly. I mean, that's soul crushing for Madrid. And yes, I am signaling them out because they will be the club that's most hurt about that. And it would be insane for Lamine, for football, for Barca. It would be absolutely insane. And I do feel for Rafinha because if there was a season for him to win this thing, it's now. Exactly, this is the
This
season.
season.
But it's difficult against Lamine's PR as well because he has all the hype and yeah,
He's now at this
yeah,
at
and
the peak.
and rightfully so because
Huge.
he is consistently there. He is consistently Barca's best player and best player in the world. So, it's tough to compete with that.
But Furman has a tendency to give the ball away cheaply in the midfield. Against Inter position will be crucial for breaking into defense and defending against counters. Yes, you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a point, but that said, is Olmo our best, ball carrier, ball shielder? I wouldn't say so. His biggest strength is between the lines, and he hasn't been the sharpest on that for a while now. Not saying that he can't be, but he's just lost a little bit of that step that he had from the injuries, and I think he's not yet been able to find that. So that said, Furman can lose balls, but he more than makes up for it with his energy, his running around, his ability to get into the books and score important goals when needed. So from a overall utility, I think he compensates for it from that perspective. That's my viewpoint. But Dom, your thoughts before we
yeah. We'll
actually do
sign off
sign it
after
off.
this one, guys. As I said, I would go with Furman as well. I think he can make the most use out of what Lamine does and what we do on the right side of the pitch. At the moment, usually I would go for Olmo. I did say Olmo a couple of days ago, but then seeing Olmo tonight as well, I don't know, something's off about Olmo. And at this rate, in that big of a game, yeah, Furman for me as well.
All right, there you go, guys. Sorry, generally we stay a little bit longer, but tonight we can't for a couple of other things that we have to take care of. But that said, thank you for joining. 3 points in the bag, 10 points clear. We'll be back after the Inter game for sure, and that will be a cracker because if we lose, it will be
Yeah,
heartbreaking and everybody will be upset and we'll
yeah,
be upset. But it is what it is. That's football, so we'll be there, win or lose. Hopefully we win, and because it'll be if we win, it's a crazy win away at San Siro, and it sets us up nicely, and we can still dream of the treble. So hopefully all of us will be there. So see you there. But for now, today we got the job done, and thankfully we've got those 3 points that mattered the most after that early scare, and let hopefully Rodriguez gets better soon, and you guys out there take care, stay safe,
let's go
and Visca
Barca.
Barca.